Remember how we talked about eternal and temporal identities?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have our eternal identities, and then we have our temporary ones or temporal ones. Just put temp. Now, we can have meaning in both of these identities because they both come with responsibilities that are inherent to any identity. Like you can't separate identity from responsibility because it's embedded with one another. Because when you have like an identity, say I am a student, what's implied is that you do what students do. You study, you go to school, etc., etc. Now the opposite is true, where you can't say you don't have any identity, because if you act in some manner, that is going to fit into a responsibility or a trait of some identity. So you can't escape this cycle. And meaning comes from in life, comes from fulfilling your responsibilities, from actually fulfilling them well, acting responsibly. So you can have tons of meaning in this life from fulfilling the responsibilities of your temporal identities. So being a student or for your job or whatever it is. But these temporal identities are temporary, so they're not going to continue. So they can have some level of potential meaning that you could have in this life. Arbitrary number, 72. The amount of meaning units that you can have from your from a certain temporal identity is 72 units, and we're not going to get into how to measure that because you weren't here for the one where we drew the graph. It's kind of a little complicated, but so there's 72 meaning units from X temporal identity, but your eternal identity, it's forever, it's eternity. So you can continue to have meaning in fulfilling the responsibilities of your eternal identity infinitely. So temporal identities can be good. This is because there was a general conference talk when he was like, there are good things in this world that you need to participate in. But too much of a good thing or too much of your temporal identity can be bad because it distracts you from your eternal one. Mm-hmm. And basically our covenant was, and we talked about this in our other class too, was to not have any other gods before our God. And so, which basically means that God is the representation of our eternal identity. So don't have any other temporal identities before your eternal identity. It's unavoidable to have temporal identities because you have to have a job to make money. So yeah, you can't avoid it. But the problem is that when we have temporal identity above our eternal identity, that's when we're in spiritual danger, because you won't have infinite meaning.